Hi, everyone. Oh, bring your mic around, Carol. That would help. Okay. Hello, Lindy London, Alicia DeMoss, and Lambs, Grace, and Crazy Potts, and Justin Wynn, and Andrew Cruz, and D. Moore. Turtle Tribal Nation, TSS, James B., Barb in Ohio, Shauna Howard. Hi. Angelos. Hey. Anthony Van Zant. Hey. And My Girl 67. Hey. Space Indian. Hey. So, we've got lots of war, we've got lots of protests, we've got lots of weather, we've got lots of manufactured weather, and we've got a lot of news. News that you're just going to love, I'm sure. As far as my leaving tomorrow, I may be leaving on Monday. Tell you the truth. First of all, I thought tomorrow was the 29th. Monday is the 29th. June 1st is when it starts for me in Texas. And I am, let's just say, I'm traveled out. I am definitely traveled out. So, hi Silent Walk. Oracle 11, BMCC, and Grout sees what you won't. Julia Lynn Henry, Sith Trish. Hi. So, my time was a little bit off, and I'm moving slowly. I am moving slowly. I'm older, I'm worn out, and I'm moving slowly. All right, so let's look at radar, shall we? Not pretty. Not pretty. You have your Doppler radar in Texas and Louisiana. Wow, it's really pretty strong, those frequencies, creating a plasma donut. But these supercells growing a tail, of course. Yes, we need more supercells. They need to attach to the other supercells. So Oklahoma and Kansas into Missouri, Iowa, and look at this developing here. It's a nice ring, isn't it? A nice defined ring. Signature of man's hand. So I really hope that all of you are staying safe, that you won't have to suffer the consequences. We've got more supercells igniting in Missouri, in Illinois, and yes, there are warnings, and Ryan Hall is on it.
I swear it's right behind that. Now it's behind that hill, but yeah, there's a little bit of a lowering there and he's on a storm farther up in Oklahoma near Perry. Okay, so this storm's starting to spin quite a bit, and it's trying to produce a funnel as it approaches places like. Honestly, it's in a pretty rural area, but it's approaching the areas between Red Rock and Perry, where Highway 64 and Interstate 35 intersect. Hopefully he can turn us back around to that. Kansas. New tornado warning for Cedarvale. I don't know how many times Cedarvale has been under a tornado warning today. But it's happening again. Take shelter now in Hewins, Cloverdale as well. Probably a little bit more of a concerning signature on radar back here towards Toronto, Kansas. Hopefully everybody in Toronto, Kansas is in their safe spot as well. We've got words from meteorologist Andy Hill. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, Ryan, I had Goodland radar up all this time, and then my mesoanalysis page started glitching, so I was distracted.
All right, so if any of you are in this area where they have the supercells igniting, it's probably better to watch Ryan Hall than me. And for everybody else, you got to prepare for anything, because that's what we're living. That is exactly what we are living. And unfortunately, there are a lot of tornado warnings. We've got Electra, Texas. We've got Cedar Vale, Kansas. Orlando, Oklahoma. And Noble County, Oklahoma. Oh, just, what can I say? Just be safe. Be safe, because everything is in shambles when these tornadoes hit.
Gone. No rough. No nothing. Everything's in shambles.
70 people survived a direct hit at Garner Industries building in Waverly just before Friday's commute home.
And all of a sudden I look over and I see that building's being all torn up by that tornado.
Kent Thompson driving by until a cloud caught him by surprise.
It picked me up and took me over the other side. I didn't tip the car over, but it just slid it across the other side.
More cars thrown away from the building, even a train derailed. The sight startling first responders who sprung into action.
From a little ways out, you could definitely tell that it'd been hit.
Deputies and firefighters getting people out of the rubble.
They went to reinforced areas, places that could be able to withstand the high winds, tornadoes, stuff like that. It worked out well for them.
The damage and destruction making cars undrivable. Workers were shuttled to a pop-up emergency shelter down the road where they shared their stories and grace to be alive.
It's kind of surreal. Everybody just kind of relaxing, calming down, and kind of redoing everything back in their heads all over again.
Just like what they say, it was like a freight train coming. About 5 seconds later, it was done. We just tore everything up.
I had a split second just to get in the bathroom when it came through.
All of a sudden, the building started shaking. I took off running, things flying by my head. I got in the bathroom right as the whole building collapsed.
It dropped right on top of us.
Sandhills Global Events.
Yeah, they come fast. Some come without a warning. Look at this destruction. Nebraska dad recalls fleeing tornado with family. This is Elkhorn, Nebraska.
Is in Elkhorn today. Nicole, Fox Weather correspondent Nicole Valdez is in Elkhorn today. Nicole, how are things over there today? You have seen your fair share of disaster just like this. How does it compare on the scale, and how can people help today?
Well, Jane, as you take a look around the destruction around us, it's horrific on its own. But as you start to talk to people who really were worried for their lives, for their families' lives, that terrifying night they had last night, and hear the lengths they went to try to save themselves, I mean, it just guts you as you take a look around really what's left of at least this community, and you look at homes that are left but nothing but their foundations. This one in particular flattened in the sheer force of that monster tornado. The roof, the walls, I mean, there's nothing left standing here. And it's destruction like this that goes on for miles. There are dozens of homes that look just like this. Some that still have sort of its structure standing, but the stories that live inside these walls are ones that families won't ever forget. I spoke to Troy and Katrina Long just moments ago. They live in this home with their 2 children and watched that tornado touch down, knew it was time to get out of here before things got too dangerous. Listen to this.
The sirens were going off and we were all in the basement, and I came upstairs to the 2nd floor and I looked that way and I saw the big tornado coming and destroying houses over there. So I ran downstairs and gathered up everybody. We jumped in the truck and I drove that way as fast as I could away from it. And it was just right here on 4th Street, which is really close. Probably shouldn't have done that, but I'm kind of glad we did that. Our kids didn't have to go through that.
Wow. The Great Escape. Look at this aerial view. This is the Ramblewood neighborhood of Elkhorn, Nebraska. Look at this. This entire neighborhood. Got it. Got it bad. Wow, the scale of destruction that we are living now is horrifying. Whether it's fires, whether it's tornadoes, whether it's flooding, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. So as more and more people lose their jobs, you know, the fabulous Bidenomics hitting and pushing so many off the financial cliff, I look at this kind of destruction and I wonder, you know, because so many Americans now are financially stressed. So they lose their home due to weather warfare, and what do? If the home's not paid off, they still have to pay the mortgage. Scenes of devastation. Nebraska, Texas, Kansas, Missouri, and Iowa.
Radar indicated rotation there, and that is in effect until 6 p.m. That National Weather Service severe thunderstorm warning I was talking about for western Potawatomi County, southeast Harrison, southeast Washington County, and south Omaha.
Injuries, but no deaths were immediately reported.
107.
Night in
This
Iowa.
literally takes
3 people were
minutes.
injured in
That's
Nebraska's.
it. Just minutes. And everything's gone. If any of you are in or near these areas, I sure do hope that you're extending a hand to these people who are suffering the consequences, and hopefully will be reciprocated when you suffer the consequences. I've never seen anything like this. Woman rescued from rubble. This was in Nebraska.
Omaha's weather leader is there as a rain-wrapped tornado tears across Washington County, leveling homes on Highway 75 outside Blair. Moments later, we see the destruction.
My ears started just popping, the high pressure, and got down in the basement, heard a window break, and then it was just the roar going through.
This is Iowa. I can't play this. Minden, Iowa. This is Live Storms Media. I'll put the link in if you want to watch the drone fly above all of the destruction. It's, yeah, bad. And more tornadoes coming. More tornadoes. More areas are going to be hit. This evening, tonight. It's really bad. Wow. When something like this happens, sure hope people have, you know, close family that will take them in. Dubai, United Arab Emirates, but this was like nothing else. A subscriber sent this along to me. Maybe they've not seen anything like this in Dubai, but I sure have seen it all over the world.
But this was like nothing else. It was like an alien invasion. The sky just kept on flashing thunder, non-stop, almost non-stop. I've never seen so much rain in all my life. It's absolutely horrendous. It's the worst I've ever seen it in Dubai. And we've seen some...
It's called weather modification. And I'm going to play a few minutes of this. This is Fair Play Now. I will link below. This is for those in the UK who I have spoken to one subscriber who lives in the UK, and she is telling me that every single day the cloud coverage makes the days gray. So here's another person saying exactly that, and he also goes into the Deagle, depopulation plan.
On the 27th of April 2024. So there's something that I've seen knocking around the freedom movement and the Telegram groups on and off here and there over the last 3 years, but I don't think I've ever talked about it on this channel, or maybe I did just kind of once perhaps, probably because it just seems so outlandish that it's almost certainly not true, not going to come to fruition. And that's something called the Deagle Report, spelled like Beagle, the dog, but with a D for Delta in front. And it came out, I think it was something like 2017, and it's basically a load of predictions about what the populations of various countries are going to be in 2020.
If any of you don't know what the Deagle Report is, just click on the link that I just put in and you can hear all about it. But it is a military site, the Deagle Report, that lists how many people will be killed off in a certain amount of time in each country. So I also want to respond to Tony. Yeah, you caught that, huh? I said June 1st. No, May 1st. I meant May 1st. Thank you, Tony. May 1st. That's when the apartment starts in Texas.
25. New Zealand, Germany, France, Italy, we're all looking at similar kind of vast reductions, and many other countries as well. And it just seems so preposterous. How, for example, if we stick with the UK, how are we going to go down from kind of 70 million to 15 million? And it's 2024 now, and they're kind of running out of time for these predictions to come true. And there's still one or two ways it could happen, but I think, they can't sort of bring in another Lurgy and another round of those, which are going to knock out a lot of people. It's a bit too late for that. Obviously, they can't do sort of kind of stuff that was done in the Second World War in various places. That's not going to be an option. But there is one way where it could still happen, and that is through mass starvation. If the sort of crops failed this year and the shops were empty by, supermarket shelves were empty by, I don't know, October, people were getting really, really hungry and not able to get any food anywhere by end of November. And people were starving to death by the end of the year, start of next year. That is one way in which it could happen. Now, I'm only mentioning this because you've probably noticed, I don't know what it's like if you're in another country. I'd be interested in your thoughts if you're in Europe, Ireland, Canada, America, etc. But here in the UK, especially the part I'm in, it's just been, as you can see, it's 9 degrees today, according to the thermometer on my van, and leaden grey skies and rain, just constant rain. And it's been like this pretty much since the start of the year, or end of last year as well. And we're here late April now, and normally we would have seen a good number of really nice sunny spring-like days with temperatures getting up to the mid-high teens Celsius, but nothing like that. Well, might have had the odd day where it was fairly sunny and temperatures were getting up to sort of maybe 13, 14, but even those you can count on the fingers of one hand over the last 2 months or so. And it's just the same every single day. And I know a lot of people are starting to say that the farmers are beginning to struggle to get their crops sown, or if they are sowing the crops, they're getting ruined because there's too much water lying around. And you have to sort of also ask the question, is this natural? These sort of leaden grey skies which just go on day after day after day, is it natural? I know, Kay, we're in the UK, we're sort of renowned for not particularly brilliant weather at the best of times, but I don't think I've ever known a period where the sun's just appeared so little and the skies have been grey so much. Normally you get a sunny day and then 2 or 3 grey days, and then with maybe a bit of rain, maybe not, and then another couple of sunny days, and then 3 or 4 rainy days, that kind of thing. But we've just literally had no sun at all for, well, I think there was a Saturday a couple of weeks ago when I was down in Tisbury where it was fairly pleasant, like I say, but certainly for the last 2 weeks, it's just.
And he goes on to talk about the farmers and how saturated are a lot of farms. Yeah, I mean, look, when people cite government statistics, you may not have 70 million in the UK, like we don't have 330 million in the United States. For sure, all of the migrants coming in, that helps them keep the numbers inflated. But we have so many people dying from a new product, from all of the poisons that we are subjected to, the electromagnetic frequencies, and a whole host of reasons. So, our numbers are going down. Western nations, the numbers are going down. We have had a fertility crisis. Well, when I started noticing the United Nations coming out with their reports, 15 years. And it hasn't gotten any better. So the depopulation has been going on. And And by 2025, well, starvation, how about war, how about more bombs being dropped on the UK, on, America as well. And I'll post a link to this article. Bill Gates wants to use, oh, I never got that. Oh, okay, hang on. All right, so this is his video, Fair Play. Okay, and Bill Gates wants to use AI for genetically modifying cows, beef cows, to save the planet. Yes. What a flippin' bizarre world. But April 27, how did states, cities embrace United Nations 2030 Agenda Climate Action Plan? So, for anybody who doesn't know, I will put the link in for you. Activist Post has good articles. There you go. Texas Grid warns of possible power emergency early next week. Oh, right when I arrive. Terrific. The electrical grid operator warned of a possible emergency early next week because of potential shortfall of power reserves. It's the Electric Reliability, it's reliable, Reliability Council of Texas. Oh, they're reliable too, the council. The grid may have deficient reserves from April 29 at 7 p.m. through May 1st, 9 p.m. Okay. Well, even though I won't be all that affected by it, I don't want anybody to be affected by any of this. ERCOT may delay or cancel planned power plant outages and may need to shore up available supplies by about 2,800 megawatts. So ERCOT issues the warnings based on its analysis. So what's going on in Texas? That is it wickedly hot and a whole lot of people are using their air conditioning? Why do they have deficient reserves? It's been quite hot here, not today, but Arizona, and I have to tell you, I wouldn't be able to deal with the heat in Arizona. No. And we'll see how I do in Texas. But Elizabeth Rivard, hi. Thank you for showing up. Much, much appreciated. What's happening in Texas that you're now getting this warning that you might have power outages? Planes almost collide at two major airports as Boeing probe advances. What is going on? Well, they don't want people traveling, and all of this scares people into no longer flying. Federal Aviation Administration is investigating dozens of airplane incidences since January, including one in which a Swiss Air jet almost collided with 4 other planes on the runway at JFK International Airport in New York City. The FAA has more than 100 aviation accidents and incidences since the beginning of 2024. These include airplane and helicopter crashes, equipment and mechanical malfunctions, and communication breakdowns with air traffic controllers that almost caused runway collisions at several major U.S. airports. There is also growing criticism of the air traffic control and FAA's hiring practices going DEI, or DIE, which is die. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Yes. How about going with qualifications? Who's qualified? Hey, U.S. bank deposits suffer biggest weekly decline since 9/11. Since 9/11. Wow. So, guess what? Ooh, that's not good, Elizabeth. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, because people don't have money to put in the bank. Everything is going to pay for rent, mortgage, bills. And what is this? Oh, Republic Bank. Late last night, seized by the FDIC. And bank failures begin again. We have about 100 more to go. Republic First Bancorp, Philadelphia Bank, collapsed. Well, it's going to happen more and more. More and more and more and more. All right, I'm not... Trump. Oh, and all of the Trumpers. And so many people stuck in the Matrix. And the comments that I receive under videos. And it's like, are you flipping kidding me? Blaming everything on the Democrats. So the Republicans, if they're blaming everything on the Democrats, do they think that all of what is taking place has just taken place under Biden? Really? That shows how unbelievably ignorant they are. But to think that it's the Democrats, that means you Republicans have really shitty representatives who sit back and do absolutely nothing. Nothing. So Trump is bad as Biden, yes. And that's hard to do. So another comment out of Trump's own mouth that these new products, right, are good. So here, Donald Trump, of course, he rips everybody to shreds. I mean, he's a disgusting narcissist that is, all he does is level all of these insults, disparagements against opponents. This is who, oh God, it's unbelievable that people, well, a whole lot of Americans do the same thing. So they think it's great. He writes, I lived with RFK Jr. in New York and watched him convince Cuomo, Governor Cuomo, at that time, to make environmental moves that were outright nasty. Upstate New York was not allowed to drill or frack as Ohio, Pennsylvania, and others ripped off New York energy. Because of this, prices have skyrocketed all over that part of the country, but especially upstate New York and New England. Their energy costs, this is such bullshit. Our energy costs have skyrocketed all over. It's not because RFK Jr. Convinced Cuomo of environmental moves. And a whole lot of people are very against fracking. It's a very dangerous process to exact oil, to exact energy. But, all right. So he also writes, their energy costs are the highest in the U.S., with the exception of California, run by Gavin Newsom. That's what he writes. My God. It's you would hope that some of these people might take the high road. They don't. They're as low as a whole lot of ordinary Americans. But it appeals to ordinary Americans. You know, like, during the Bush-Gore campaign, how many said, I'm voting for Bush. I'm voting for Bush because he's the kind of guy that I could sit down and have a beer with. Oh, great. But Trump also wrote this. I'd even take Biden over Jr. because our country would last a year or two longer prior to collapse. Really? But it would be dead either way. His views, RFK Jr.'s views on vaccines, are fake, as is everything else about his candidacy. So, he was talking to RFK Jr. about heading his Vaccine Safety Commission. Do you remember that? Anybody? He actually came out during the campaign and talked about these vaccines. We really need to investigate them, and he spoke of a whole lot of troubles that people were having as a result. Americans are lost. They're I don't know. Okay, anyone supporting Trump, good for you. You're supporting your own demise. We have to get out of this matrix and stop supporting it. Somehow. It's unbelievable. So that wasn't that long ago when he was talking to RFK Jr. about heading the Vaccine Safety Commission, which never came about when he became president. Isn't that interesting? Young Americans are getting left behind by rising home prices, higher stocks. They are getting left behind. It is such a disgrace that we have done this. The baby boomers to all of the generations that came after. The peak boomer crisis might only get worse. A fifth of Americans 50 and up have no retirement savings, and the majority are worried they won't have enough money. It's going to get really bad. The new class war, a wealth gap between millennials. The tech millennials and all the other millennials. The techies who have billions and all the others. But it's class war. It's not a race war. It's not a gender war. It's class war. How bad is it?
Bad it is.
What's going on? Electricity, 25% increase. Auto insurance up 33%. Used cars up 35%. Hotels up 15%. Groceries. This matters. Up 25%. And this is a big one. You need $11,434 additional just to maintain the same living standard that you had in 2021. Did y'all get a raise?
No.
Between now and then? But that's what's happening. Rent is up 30%. Mortgage rates doubled. It's getting worse, not better. So what do you tell yourself about what you're going to do, how you're going to go about climbing out of this? Because we're headed in the wrong direction.
All that, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, that is called Bidenomics. And we are very proud of Bidenomics.
This is how bad it is.
What's going on?
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. All right, so I posted this video, and I have to tell you, the majority of comments are just people who are so stuck in the matrix, people who are just filled with presumptions. You know, she doesn't say that she's a Democrat or anything. Yeah, well, you get what you vote for. All right, let's listen to her.
It absolutely sucks that I am in my 20s right now. I'm in my 20s, and I want a house. I want kids. I want to get married. I want to start a life. I want to do all of these things that seem so financially out of reach and seem like they are never going to get any better. And I was talking to my parents about this, and they're like, Taylor, it was hard for us. It's going to be hard for your kids too. But at the same time, I feel like we're in such a unique time, and I'm not even talking for just people in my age group right now. I'm talking about for everybody in the world. And I think that it's because, and this is my personal take, and maybe your personal take too, but I feel like we are playing into a hand that all of us are playing into a hand that the government so desperately wants us to play into to make us weak. And this hand is not knowing or ignoring the fact that united we stand, divided we fall. And I feel like so many of us are jumping into a category of Republican or liberal, or I voted for this or I voted for that, or I'm against this or I'm against that we forgot that we're all on the same team. And we're so divided. We have never been more, I think we've never been more divided, especially in my country. And I think we're playing into the hand that they want us to play into. We're just walking into it. I don't know. All right. Going to get in.
Yes. She is probably, I'd say, no older than 24. There are an awful lot of Gen Zs that know that they don't have a future. The house, the marriage, the children, out of reach. They don't have a future. This is how unbelievably screwed up this country has become. And if you don't feel for, this young woman, if you don't feel for others that I've posted on Never Lose Truth, you're gone. You need to take a look in the mirror and try to figure out, why is it that you're so cold to the older generations doing nothing, focusing on ourselves, being so self-centered and materialistic. And that's what has been the value in our country. This is what we have left them. Accepting all of the lies, voting for the lesser of two evil. I include myself in that. And when I finally got it, then I've just tried to do everything in my power and everything possible that I could do. I just got more and more destroyed. My God. I mean, when I was 24, which was 41 years ago now, it would never have dawned on me that I would be listening to a 24-year-old, or 23, I don't know how old she is, when I'm in my 60s, and that's what they would be saying. Washington's fiscal mess is irresponsible, unethical, immoral. Former U.S. Comptroller General. No kidding. Really? You think? It's disgusting that we've allowed this to go on and on and on. Moab residents, this is in Utah, face homelessness. So many are facing the homelessness, and it's not fun.
Like, I've been here so long. My kids grew up here. They don't want to go. I don't want to go. We want to stay here.
An entire Moab neighborhood facing the possibility of homelessness. I'm Jenna Bree with Fox 13 News. The city is giving residents of this mobile home park 2 months to move out.
It's not the nicest place, but it's cheap. We have everything that we need. We want to stay here. We don't want to leave.
Melva Cruz has been living on Walnut Lane with her family for 15 years. A few days ago, she received a notice telling her she has to leave her trailer, which she owns, by the end of June.
I started crying. I was like, where am I going to go? It's hard. It's hard. Because I don't have a place to take my grandkid, to be honest. I don't have a place to take them. We live together because that's how we can help each other. Moab, it's so expensive. I don't have $8,000 to go rent a place. I don't.
The city of Moab bought this mobile home park in 2018 with the intent of turning it into an affordable housing development. 6 years later, there's no development and no plan in sight.
We were notified in March that the insurer was no longer going to cover this. It was going to be excluded from our policy, and so we are just scrambling now to figure out what to do.
The city held meetings for Walnut Lane residents Friday to tell them about the assistance package they'll be getting and to connect them with resources. The residents say they just don't feel like they have enough time.
When we saw the notice, they give us just 2 months to be out. It's kind of shocking, because they know Moab. Everybody does. Housing is really hard. Most in 2 months. You're not going to find a place in 2 months.
Interim city manager David Everett says the city will do everything it can to help these people find housing, like giving all the residents $10,000 if they move out by June 30th.
Moab, like much of the state, is experiencing a housing shortage. Ours is even worse. It's exacerbated by the fact that there's not a lot of stock here at all. We're surrounded by public lands.
Cruz says she can't move her trailer, and with her family, dogs, and cats, it will be impossible to find a place where she can afford to live in Moab.
They should have not bought the place and lied to us. They promised us housing, better apartments, and they have done anything. I can't become homeless with my grandkid.
Oh, wow. Moab is very expensive. Looking for a small miracle. An older Maine couple puts out newspaper ad to find housing.
The housing crisis, a Yarmouth couple is getting desperate. They say they could be homeless in just a matter of a few days now if they can't find a place to call home.
As CBS 13's Asia Reed shows us, the couple is now using an advertisement in the local newspaper as a last-ditch effort.
Looking for a small miracle. That's the title of John and Lynn's advertisement in the local paper. The first line reads, older Maine couple, wife disabled, will be homeless by May 1st.
We've been here all our lives. We're professionals. We have good credit. We have money, but that doesn't seem to be enough nowadays.
The Yarmouth couple has been searching for a place to call home for the last 6 months. Right now, they're renting this place from a family who temporarily moved to Morocco. May 1st is when that family moves back. John and Lynn don't need much.
We're hoping that there's somebody out there that has like an in-law apartment or has a home large enough for us to share with them.
John's wife, Lynn, is what he describes as somewhat disabled.
I can live in a tent, but she can't.
After a stroke and 2 months in a coma, Lynn needs help walking, needs a caregiver and extensive help, as well as an accessible place to live. They've contacted churches, are constantly checking online rental listings, and even reached out to Maine Housing.
2 years waiting list. Gets more frightening every day.
Now, they are hoping for a miracle.
I know we're not unique. There are many people out there that are looking for housing. Don't need a lot of room. We just need a place to be that's warm and dry.
If you have any...
Oh my God. Wow. homeless women of all ages in Tucson find hope at Sister Jose's Women's Shelter.
I had been living in a place for 5 years. The owner of my house decided to sell the duplex property. And the new owners gave everybody in those two places 28 days to get out. And because I lived from check to check with the full-time job, I made enough to pay bills. I don't have enough money to find housing now. I was sleeping 3 days in my car, 2 days in a motel room. You know what I mean? Working full-time, running out of money.
Unhoused women are a hidden group because they hide to keep themselves safe. Especially in Pima County. Over the last few years, it's just skyrocketed.
I have never been homeless before this, ever in my life. Like I said, I was afraid. I was sleeping in my car. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't even know what I did wrong. I think to myself, sometimes it was me. But I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I work 5-6 days a week. I'm looking for a second job now. I'm trying, and I still can't find a place to live. Nobody wants to let me in because I don't got the money. I'm a 7-Eleven worker, and I was working, and a customer came in and told me, "You don't have to be sleeping in your car. You don't have to be doing all this, Christine. You work too hard." And they told me about this place here. And I came up here one morning, and I seen the line, and I seen the people, and I cried. I was scared.
I walk into the center some mornings and I look and every chair is full and women are standing and other women are waiting to get in. It's just unbelievable, even though I know it's happening every day.
Sister Jose's is a local homegrown organization. Our founder is Jean Fedigan, and Jean's been a powerhouse. Our creation story starts with Jean out one night on soup patrol. So they're at the men's shelter one night passing out soup, and Jean quite innocently asks, "Where do the women sleep?" And she was met by silence because there wasn't any place. And she wanted to open up a shelter for women. And 2 weeks later, they had a place downtown in a small chapel. They had a coffee pot and they had blankets, and they opened the doors at 8 p.m. and the first women came in. They would do that during the cold winter months, and then they would close. It just became so obvious to her and to those other volunteers that that was not enough. How can we help women change their lives so that they can become housed?
And to get the answer to that, you'll have to click on the link and listen. And listen. So many people are they have the resources and they can definitely, do something to help people. And they just don't. They just don't. It's so, I'll never understand that. I don't care. Okay. This is a woman, Monroe County District Attorney. This is a traffic stop. WROC. Is that Oklahoma? Let me see. Rochester. Where is this? What Rochester? New York. Okay. Yeah, gotta love it.
Cam footage, Monroe County DA Sandra Dorley tells a Webster police officer it was her choice not to stop when he attempted to pull her over for going 20 miles over the speed limit on Phillips Road Monday. She said she was having a very bad day. Instead of arresting her for failing to stop, the officer wrote her a ticket. Tonight, at least one group is calling for more accountability. Jatira Marsh joins us with a closer look at the police footage and what transpired once the DA drove home. Jatira.
Teresa, from what we will see in the video, law enforcement say the situation has turned into a much bigger issue than what it has to be. Monday around 5:30, a Webster police officer says he was attempting to pull over District Attorney Sandra Doorley on Phillips Road. In the body cam footage, Doorley explains why she didn't pull over, and instead she kept going and didn't stop until she pulled into her own garage. Doorley is seen on the phone. She tells the officer she called Webster police chief.
Okay, I'm telling you why I stopped you. You didn't stop at all. Did you not hear my lights or sirens or anything?
No, I didn't actually. I was on the phone.
Okay, well, you're not supposed to be on the phone while you're driving either.
Yes, I am with the hands-free, absolutely.
Okay. Why are you so upset at me? I'm doing my job. You just admitted to me that you were going 55 and a 35 on Phillips Road.
Can you please tell him to leave me alone?
During the back and forth, Doorley insists on speaking to a supervisor.
So why didn't you just stop like you're supposed to?
Because I didn't feel like stopping on Phillips Road at 5:30.
That's not your choice. You know that.
Well, I made it my choice.
Okay, well, now you made it a bigger deal than it needed to be.
It's a really bigger deal. When people start calling, it's a much bigger deal.
Well, you caused that, Sandra. Well, what do you want us to do? Not do our job because it's you?
No, it's fine. I said, write me a ticket. But I was just saying, I was not going to stop at Phillips Road at 5:30.
Okay, well, you broke another law because of that, right?
So
you should know better. That's not a traffic ticket. That's an arrestable offense, Sandra.
Instead of arresting Doorley, Webster police write her a ticket.
All right, ma'am. So I'm issuing you speed in zone, 55 and a 35.
That's fine. I'll take care of it since I'll be prosecuting myself.
Okay.
Doorley released a statement yesterday on the matter saying, I acknowledged that I was speeding and I accepted the ticket. By 1 p.m. the following day, I pled guilty and sent the ticket to the Webster Town Court because I believe in accepting responsibility for my act.
Bullshit. Bullshit. She was not accepting responsibility for her actions. She thought because she's a DA that she could get away with this. It's an arrestable offense, but they didn't arrest her. She should have been arrested. Oh my God, positions of power. Yeah, I'll be prosecuting myself. She does not take responsibility. It's clear. I can't stand people. I really, oh, thank you, Sandra. Yeah. So I take responsibility. I accepted the ticket. I paid for the ticket. I pled guilty. But here she is trying to wrangle out of this. You know, it's like the facts are the facts. You stand accountable and you don't fudge it with an awful lot of nonsense. And that's what most Americans do. I'm tired of it. Maine search continues as officer is charged with lying about taking a missing person to the hospital.
In Aroostook County, the search continues for a missing person after they say an officer lied about taking him to the hospital. They say Washburn Police Sergeant Chandler Cole claimed he had taken Eric Foote to the hospital and falsified a logbook to support the claim, but hospital records show it was a lie. Sergeant Cole has since resigned from the department, but officials have still not located Foote. The community has organized another search party to look for him this weekend. Foote was reportedly last seen on January 30th, then Cole was arrested on March 29th. Sergeant Cole declined to comment on the allegation.
What the hell is going on? Oh, God, man. New York City Councilwoman Vicky Palladino torches illegal migrants complaining about the city's accommodations.
But at the shelter, the food, my kids cannot eat the food at the shelter. And they give us 2 months to stay at the shelter, and then you have to go out again with your luggages and the kids and find another place. It's very difficult.
In listening to everybody speak and making demands on New York City to do more, how much more are we supposed to do? This system is so overworked and overburdened We don't have the resources that you need to get what you need. I mean, your testimonies move me tremendously. I don't want to see anybody mistreated in any sort of way. But I have to ask you, what motivated you to come here thinking the streets are paved with gold? They're not. They're absolutely not. And you're living through that.
You can thank Democrats for this.
But at the shelter, the food,
Oh, God. Sandra, you can donate in my PayPal account, Smilin Rocks, SMILINROCKS @gmail. Smilin without the G, all lowercase. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for asking. Yeah. Well, they're told in their own countries, come on, you'll get. And then they get here and they find they're not getting. And that's yet another betrayal. Who could possibly believe Americans? San Diego official says city is new epicenter of border crisis. Well, I don't know why you're the new epicenter of the border crisis, San Diego, but wow, Arizona is also an epicenter of the border crisis. U.S. should adopt UK's Rwanda plan to address illegal immigration. Okay, that Rwanda plan has not worked out very well, but apparently there's been some movement. Britain's parliament has finally passed a law confirming that Rwanda is a safe place to send people who arrive in the UK illegally by sea. This is a major policy win for the Conservative government of Sunak and a victory for common sense. Well, just because it passed, let's see if they actually do something. Let us see if they start sending all of these people back to Rwanda. And by the way, did they even call Rwanda and say, hey, will you take all of these arrivals that we have? I saw T. Lamb there. What's not possible? Hi, T. Lamb. T. Lamb just got here, so it's not possible? I wonder what's up. No, not new mods. Oh, okay. Comments go missing. So, Britain, like the United States and Europe, is experiencing mass illegal migration in the guise of asylum claims. The British devised the Rwanda plan in response, but the U.S. already has successful equivalents that can be resurrected when there is a will to once again follow the law. Follow the law. MS-13 Satanists in Houston caught kidnapping and sacrificing young girls. How fabulous.
A satanic statue in the apartment, and the gang members said they wanted to offer the beast a soul. Police say Hernandez Rivera and Alvarez Flores killed the girl execution style. Killers confessed to the crime after they were arrested. 22-year-old Miguel Alvarez Flores, there you see on the left, and 18-year-old Diego Hernandez Rivera on the right appeared in court this week. Now, according to HPD, most MS-13 gang members are in this country illegally, and these two murder suspects could be as well. Police say they have reported the two to Homeland Security. Now, an investigator told us this morning that officers found evidence in the apartment where these gang members were keeping underage girls. that led police to believe there was some sort of satanic ritual activity happening there. HPD says there were 3 underage girls in the apartment of the murder suspects, a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old who was murdered, and then a 16-year-old girl. Police say the 14-year-old told detectives she was kidnapped, drugged, and sexually assaulted by members of the MS-13 gang. Now, the 14-year-old also reportedly told investigators she was moved from one apartment to another, forced into consuming drugs and alcohol, then at one point was held down as Alvarez Flores tattooed the image of the Grim Reaper on her body from her knee down to her foot. This girl also told police the 15-year-old at the apartment was a girl named Genesis. She believes Genesis is the girl.
MS-13 has been in this country for many, 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 many years during the Republican reign and Democrat reign. A whole lot of murders due to MS-13 on Long Island, New York. Long Islanders say Long Island, so that's why I said that. I'm a New Yorker. So, we have left ourselves very vulnerable. What is it about cats that like boxes? They love boxes. So Bookend is jumping into a box. We should have been screaming a long time ago. What are you doing? Well, if you hear any noise, that's Bookend. That way. No, that way. All right, so yeah, okay. It's only going to get worse, guys. It's really only going to get worse. Look at this. In Sweden, get up, woman. I have to sit down now. Great, huh? Ah, taking in the best. Oh, okay.
Of course, you're going to be attacked if you say, hey, this continent, Europe, has been predominantly white for, the entirety of its history. And now suddenly within one generation, a few bureaucrats have decided against the will of the people that we should suddenly be a minority. Why do we agree with that? Or why do we allow that to happen? If you say that, you are going to be attacked. But the only other option then you have is say nothing and have it happen. So the choice is yours, and I've made my choice.
It's a very real thing what we are all living. So, black against white, yellow against green, it doesn't matter where the division line goes. As long as there's an antagonistic clash, that is destabilization. And we've had this going on in our country here in the good old US of A for decades.
The next step is destabilization. Again, this word says for itself what it is: to destabilize all the relations, all the accepted institutions and organizations in a country of your enemy. On the stage of destabilization, we cannot come to compromise even within a family. The society at large becomes more and more antagonistic between individuals, between groups of individuals, and the society at large. The normal, traditionally accepted relations are destabilized, and there are violent clashes between him and police, his group and ordinary people, no matter what. It's black against white, yellows against green, doesn't matter where the division line goes. As long as this group come into antagonistic clash sometimes militantly, sometimes with firearms. That is destabilization. The next step is...
And voila. And boy, are we going to be living a destabilization that is just going to be a violent chaos all over the place. SCDHL. PayPal is my account. Solely my account. I've had that account for about 25 years. Has nothing to do with anybody else. So, all right. This was sent to me by a subscriber, and I'm not entirely sure if this website, I might have caught it. The pages seem to be not quite right, but Catherine Austin Fitts shreds Trump acolyte in the most brutal 7 minutes you will find on the internet. So, good question. Why did President Donald Trump sign off on Operation Warp Speed in July 2020 and place U.S. Army General Gustav Perna in charge of it? All right, according to Austin Fitts, she says there's two options. And Catherine Austin Fitts, if anybody doesn't know, she's a financial expert, former Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. All right, so she says Trump either knew what he was doing would be tremendously destructive to human life and did it anyway, or he did not know and got rolled by smarter people in unelected positions that hold much more power than the man holding the office of the president. I'm sorry. He knew, and he still knows, how incredibly destructive it is for an awful lot of people. You think Trump somehow, magically, has been spared all of the news about people dying very quickly, disabled from what he did? Of course he knows. And he doesn't say anything. And in fact, he's still pushing it. This is the guy that so many Americans are like, oh, he's gonna save us. No, he's not. And in fact, if he gets into office, if there's actually an election, if he gets into office, and we get into 2025, martial law. He'll be the one declaring martial law. If we can somehow skirt through this year and get to 2025, he'll be the dictator that a whole lot have been screaming about. But those who support him will think, oh wow, he's protecting me. He's protecting all of us. Wow. Wow. I'll link below to this. You can listen to the interview. And you know what? If you're going to be the president of the United States, you damn well should know. You damn well should know everything. Well, I guess people don't see it that way. Parents have become the most powerful political voice taking on big tech. There is a big problem with the bullying, cyberbullying with the kids. 16-year-old Carson Bride died by suicide June 2020 after intense cyberbullying on Snapchat by people using apps to anonymize their identity. His mom, Kristen Bride, a Democrat in Oregon, found solace in Maureen Molac, a Republican, a Democrat in Oregon, a Republican in Texas. They come together. They unite on something far more important, because this mom in Texas, her son died by suicide 4 years prior after cyberbullying on Instagram and GroupMe. What the hell is GroupMe? I absolutely needed to talk to somebody whose son had died the same way. She really gave me hope that there was a path forward to live with this tragedy. The two women are now part of a nationwide coalition of parents who've set aside their partisan differences to demand restrictions on social media. When you do this work, you set your politics aside. I wish people would just set politics, not only set it aside, but how about having a funeral for politics? Okay? Put it to rest and say rest in peace and walk away. Disgruntled school employee uses AI to frame principal with racist rant. AI is also going to be causing an awful lot of violent chaos that, we're just getting a taste of it now. An ex-athletic director at a northern Baltimore County public school used artificial intelligence to impersonate the voice of his boss, the high school's principal, then posted the racist and anti-Semitic hate rant on social media to share with the world. So this ex-athletic director was being investigated for mishandling school funds. And I'll play it. It's hard to even listen to.
You know, I seriously don't understand why I have to constantly put up with these dumbasses here every day. Between these ungrateful black kids who can't test their way out of a paper bag, or these teachers who don't get it, how hard is it to get these students to meet their grade level expectations? Lawrence and Ravenel should have never been hired. And don't let me get started on DJ. I'm going to drag his black ass out of here one way or another. I'm going to get something to stick. I'm just so sick of the inadequacies of these people. And if I have to get one more complaint from one more Jew in this community, I'm going to join the other side.
Okay, so Darian's attempt to sabotage the principal with AI was motivated by, quote, his contract not being renewed next semester due to frequent work performance challenges and the unauthorized use of school funds. And he got caught. Oh boy. How about this? UCLA students, UCLA medical students forced to take mandatory fat positivity classes. Oh man. The medical school is under fire for forcing students to attend health equity classes where fat positivity is promoted, and reading material claims that the medical term obesity is a slur used to exact violence on fat people. This is the insanity that we live now. It is supercharged stupidity offered up to students. Offered to students. Don't go to medical school, don't go to college, don't go anywhere. So drinking the Kool-Aid. All right. Very sad to hear this. Britain being fed toxic, fake Korea's artificial foods risk public health. Now, I think I'm quite right when I say it's the United States, Americans. Our food was taken over decades ago. We've been eating toxic food for a very, very long time. A whole lot of European nations ban a whole lot of the dyes and the pesticides and all of the toxic crap that we've been eating. And it is upsetting to see that now all of this toxic crap has just filtered into other countries. I will post the link to this video here, because I'm not going to play the full 10 minutes, but just the first few minutes.
People say you are what you eat. If that's true, then a whole lot of people in this country and across the Western world are built out of strange ingredients, all manner of stuff consumed by billions of people every day, but that few, if paying attention, would recognise as food, by which I mean natural whole food, because it's not food, not in the natural sense, at least. If you are what you eat, then most are made of ingredients they couldn't name, things that didn't grow in fields, that never had a heartbeat, that never walked, swam or flew.
And if you are what you eat, Americans are for sure toxic people.
Just as we build our bodies from the food we eat, so we build our understanding of the world from other things we take in. Information, in the form of things we read, things we see, things we're told by those we trust. If too many have had their stomachs filled with God knows what, building their bodies with rubbish for the most part, waste materials from industrial processes, chemical cocktails cooked to taste like something they're not, things never intended to be eaten by man or beast, then at least as many more have had their heads filled to bursting too, with more fakery, toxic fakery, concocted nonsense made palatable with more artificial flavouring. I'm minded to say doctored, meaning to falsify, to disguise, to adulterate. An interesting word all on its own, but I digress. Instead of eating real whole food, too many eat fake food now. Things that didn't exist in any form at all until the last 100 years or so.
I'll put the link in again. It's a good talk. I like Neil Oliver. All right, no one is ready for what's coming with food prices. It's going to be bad. I'll put the link in. It's going to be it's bad already. I mean, I feel it. I think a lot of my subscribers feel it. And it's scary when you're living on limited income and it's hardly anything, and you're going and you're like, holy shit, I'm buying a quarter of what I used to buy and it's costing the same. That's not good.
It's maybe going to be a bit of a steal, because what's coming next year, the cost of that item could double in value. Buy a bag of rice this year, this year's prices, because next year it'll be double in the United States. That's exactly what's about to happen. As researchers say, get ready for the cost of food to nearly double by 2025. It's not a fantasy world we're living in right now, because this is not at all out of the realm of the possibility right now. Since Biden came to office, food prices have gone up over 30%. So is it hard to believe that they would double in price? The cost of meat, with all of these farms being destroyed, meat processing plants being destroyed, on top of the fact that the US dollar is declining. The CPI index, of course, studies over 80,000 products, and prices across all categories are up 30% on average. Some are up even higher, up into the 40% range. Laura Trott is a British politician who served as the chief secretary to the Treasury, who tried to go on national television and say that food prices have come down and people have more money in their wallets. Thank goodness. The host of Good Morning Britain caught her in a lie. Watch this unbelievable moment. Out of touch.
Great news for people at home. We saw inflation coming down. Crucially, we saw food prices coming down. And this hasn't happened by accident. This has been a result of the government working very hard with the bank, with the Monetary Policy Committee to make sure we've got these inflation rates coming down steadily now. Real wages are now rising, and people can have a little bit more money at the end of the month, and that's really good news.
Just to be clear, because I think you misspoke just then. When you said prices were coming down, did you mean prices are going up?
Sorry, the rate of which prices are rising are coming down.
So
inflation is coming down. Inflation
Food prices are still going up.
Yeah, I think our viewers find it. Could you
Yes,
just explain
by
this to
4% and not 5%.
So just explain this to our viewers. You say inflation is coming down, and people say to us, I know, but the prices of goods are going up. So just explain to our viewers how those two things can be true.
So real wages are rising and have been rising now for the last 8 months. And that's really important because it means more money in your paycheck at the end of the month. And that is looking at wage rises and then taking away the impact of inflation. So that is really important.
The prices are going up.
Prices are going up. I mean, the inflation, as you'll know, the target rate of inflation for the country that Bank of England sets is 2%. So that is the target. That is what the Bank of England and the government are working towards.
Right, so inflation's coming down, but prices are going up. Can I just ask?
You know, that's like...
The link is in the chat again. $8 for a couple of blueberries. Okay, fabulous. Blueberries is my favorite. Bananas, yes, T-Lamb. Bananas are no longer the bananas that we ate maybe 15, 20 years ago. Bananas are not the same. You think you're buying organic Dole in the supermarkets? Dole? Organic? No. Do you know, I hope you do, that advertisers and corporations and companies, they can lie and use those labels like organic or natural, and they're lying. Yeah. No, fruit is definitely not the same. And I loved fruit. Loved it. I lived on fruit. I lived on vegetables. I lived on, salads. And now I hardly eat anything. Because I know it's just all crap. Genetically modified. And the fruit tastes horrible. Absolutely horrible. So, modern math class. I got this from a subscriber, and I think she thought this was a serious, like they were actually doing this in a math class. No, it actually makes fun of modern math classes.
Our first question, 1 + 1. Yes.
2.
Incorrect. Yes.
Multiculturalism.
Well done, Simon. Next question, what is 3 × 3? Yes?
9.
Wrong. Yes, Penelope.
Gender equality.
Very good, Penelope.
Is this a joke?
Do you think gender equality is a joke?
No, but isn't this a maths class? Don't be so racist. I just asked a question.
We don't ask questions. Questions are offensive.
Yeah! Let me see this. They've just written equality and drawn love hearts on a piece of paper.
He expressed himself and it's beautiful.
He didn't even spell equality correctly. We don't discriminate. This has nothing to do with mathematics.
You think you're so great with your maths and your science and your facts? What about feelings, huh?
Yeah. Feelings are more important than facts. This is wrong. You're all crazy.
Stop violating me with your different opinions.
I have the right to speak my mind. No, we have the right not to be offended.
And that's more important.
Okay. Yep. Now, Israel. So the White House Correspondents' Dinner apparently is in this hotel, and we've got an awful lot of protesters standing outside. when somebody posted a video, I'm so tired of people, you know, they leave a title that says, protesters rush White House correspondent dinners. And it sounded, you know, I listened to a few minutes, and it sounded like he was saying that they literally rushed inside and were screaming. These protests are outside. This was live. I hate the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I mean, you want to talk, they spending mega millions on a flippin' dinner where celebrities and these correspondents get together, laugh it up about how bad the world is. They have a fabulous time. They eat incredible food. They drink the fancy drinks. And it really, really shows that we've got a class war going. We don't have a race war. We don't have, we just have class war. You know, the privileged is not the color of your skin, white. This is the privilege that's parading right in front of all of these protesters. It's sickening. And they think they're oh so, and they're not. I can't stand it. I can't stand what's going on. Gaza protests on the front line of U.S. campus chaos.
It is a protest movement that's spreading. This is the University of Southern California, one of many flashpoints across the country.
The police have issued a dispersal order on the USC campus. They've warned students that if they remain here, they will be arrested.
The kids are already getting killed.
By Hamas terrorists.
By Hamas terrorists. By Netanyahu and Biden. Jeez.
Sky News has been following them, witnessing the arrests, examining the motives.
Why do you feel so passionately about being here, even though the police are telling you to leave?
Because we know that we're on the right side of this right now.
Are you scared?
No. I think that the children in Gaza are more scared than I am.
From coast to coast.
Do you believe in Israel's right to exist as a country?
I believe in all people's right to freedom and liberation. We are talking about a genocide.
It is cutting deep wedges or exposing existing ones for both sides.
These are pathetic, low-life scumbags.
So what is going on at America's top universities? Protests, encampments, anger, and arrests at campuses across the country. Gaza is the catalyst. Israel is the target.
We are calling for a complete divestment by Colombia from any company complicit in Israeli apartheid and colonization in Palestine, and we are calling for amnesty for all of our students.
It began at Columbia on New York City's Upper West Side. The university president had called in the police. She'd concluded that the protesters in a college with a proud history of protest represented a clear and present danger to college life.
Shame on you!
They tried to clear the encampment. They arrested more than 100 student protesters, but it only emboldened the movement. Downtown at New York University, more arrests. Well, it's the morning after more than 100 people were arrested here at NYU in southern Manhattan, and they put up barricades now. It's an attempt, I think, to quell the protests, to keep the two sides apart. It's also an attempt to keep out agitators who are unaffiliated with the student movement. But police and university authority policies are not working.
Free, free, free Palestine!
This is the University of Texas in Austin. Again, more protests. The presence of anti-Semitic elements within a much wider series of protests has made some Jewish students feel deeply unsafe. They've been compounded by the violent threats of a minority. Distilling what's happening to its simplest, most digestible form is easy. The reality is more nuanced. There are Jewish students among the protesters at all the campuses.
As a Jewish student, I felt completely safe 100% of the time. The police showed up in big force, obviously. did not want us to be there, and they ordered us to break up or they'd stop making arrests.
But back in New York, outside Columbia,
And we came to our homeland, and all of these lunatics,
an angry, offended and worried Jewish community.
as offensive as these people are across the street, agenda number one.
I can't listen to this guy, Michael Rappaport. I cannot listen to him. He's a disgusting creature that gets a lot of attention. Gets a lot of attention. Okay, this is in Gaza. Thank you, students, in solidarity with Gaza. So Silent Walk, most of them don't even know why they're there. Are you talking about the protesters? And if so, have you spoken to most of them? Infiltrators exposed at New York City Gaza protests.
For Jimmy Dore, who is performing in El Paso, Texas tonight, joined with my esteemed colleague Keaton Weiss.
Is that the event poster for the show tonight?
It's under the computer.
It's a weird comedy show.
I'll pull it out later.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the Shirian Collective. Some people say this is fake. I suspect it's real, even if it's not. I'm pretty sure there are organizations like it doing what is proposed here. So they put out an ad that caught a lot of people's attention back in February. Join the Shirian Collective's first undercover operation. Become an agent embedded behind enemy lines at this weekend's protest, marking our first global operation that combines the efforts of volunteers and our more seasoned internal team, who we're looking for. Individuals who can maintain cool, calm, and collected demeanors under triggering Jew hate and pressure. Volunteers willing to wear keffiyehs and walk in these demonstrations masked. Individuals with Arabic-sounding names and Middle Eastern appearance may be uniquely positioned for deeper infiltration and will receive cash compensation for their vital role in our operation. Who we're looking for.
Non-union, no craft service, no bathroom.
Good on your resume.
Get a stipend for your participation, yes, and a resume credit, yes.
Good network.
Wow, man, look at these comments that I'm getting. Silent Walk, all of the people on the television that you see have no clue. Absolutely, you can tell. How can't you tell? It's so obvious. Jeez, it's not obvious to me. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, so, yeah, everything is infiltrated. I'll put the link in the chat and you can read all about it. I mean, listened to all of it, and listen to this guy.
You think about what happened when you have these Hamas demonstrators out. They're taking over bridges and they're taking over roads. And first of all, you don't have a right to do that. You have someone get stuck in traffic. How do you know if someone may need to get to a hospital? Someone may need to pick up a child somewhere, and you're just going to commandeer the road because you have this ideological predilection. They tried to do that in Miami, and what happened? In 10 minutes, they got dragged off the road where they belonged, and we're not going to tolerate that. You look at these universities. When we have students who are doing things that, I mean, look, some of the stuff with the Hamas, I think is absurd that someone would go out and demonstrate on that. But, you know, when you're chasing Jewish students around, when you're not letting a Jewish professor enter a building, when you're targeting people like that, that's not free speech. I mean, that's harassment. That violates appropriate conduct. And yet, at Columbia...
Oh, wow. That Jewish professor that he's talking about, who's stopped by security, not the protesters. Silent Walk, you never answered my question. Yeah, I guess you are. You're a supporter of Hamas if you don't support the Zionist government in Israel. You didn't know that? You're a supporter of a terrorist organization, if you don't like children being murdered every single day and innocent people being murdered every single day. Who's there speaking about true freedom? Come on now. No one has a clue why they are there. It's a herd of people. Who's saying something of any meaning? Kenosis, are you saying anything of any meaning? This is just like Vietnam. All of the protests that the baby boomers were protesting and actually achieved some success to get the war stopped. Yeah. I think a whole lot of people have a very good clue why they're there. And I don't understand how it is that people can't see that. It's 7:15. Oh, maybe people are getting it from Salty Cracker. Dumb college students admit they don't know why they are protesting. Okay. I only watched the first few minutes. So if he actually has video of other protesters, not that one woman, because he failed, and I don't know if it was purposeful, he might have just gotten the clip without that protester that I heard the day before on Twitter, and she said when she was suddenly, asked a question, and she said that she had just gotten down to NYU from Columbia, and she didn't, because Columbia there's very specific things that they are trying to achieve, like divestment. And she wasn't sure if the NYU students, she didn't know any of the specifics. So she said to somebody, what are they protesting for? That's what it was. He took it completely out of context and claims that she's dumb and she's just protesting and she just doesn't know what she's protesting about. I'm tired of this. I'm really tired. We have people who are killing children. It is evil on steroids, what is going on. And Americans are right there with it. And people who are saying things like they don't have a clue what they're doing there, it boggles my mind. It really boggles my mind. But I understand why we're living a nightmare, an evil nightmare, because a whole lot don't even know the difference between wrong and right, what is moral and what is not. And it seems as if there's a lot in the Awake crowd that want to slam people who actually take action. They take action, you forget about the result. A whole lot of Awake, they don't take any action, but they're quick to just slam people who do. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I'll never understand it. Drag queen makes tiny kids chant Free Palestine. Holy shit. What? So this is the professor that was arrested at Emory in Georgia. Noelle McAfee, the philosophy department chair. And here she is speaking out.
So about a few minutes before that happened, I'd been coming down here to observe in hopes that the president had not called in Atlanta police, that it was just Emory police observing a peaceful protest. And then as soon as I got here, I saw the state troopers coming in, and a colleague pointed out that the APD was here.
When you saw that there was another agency besides Emory Police, what were your concerns?
That this would escalate, this would become bedlam and mayhem, and it did immediately. So immediately, I think some students were, I wasn't sure, I was standing kind of right by the flagpole, and it seemed that I was actually over there, and I walked towards the flagpole because I saw something going on with a bunch of police had tackled a young person and threw them on the ground and were just pummeling them, just pummeling, and the mother in me said, stop, and I made sure to stand 4 feet away from them, and I'm standing still in a non-confrontational way. I said, stop, and then when the cop stood up and got right in front of me and said, ma'am, you need to step back, you need to step back. And I was watching them pummel somebody. I said no, and they arrested me. So that little viral thing happened when I was being pulled off, and somebody had asked me, like, who are you, what's going on, can I help?
I mean, you've become the face, sort of, in the last 24 hours of the clash that unfolded after all of this. How does that feel?
Well, I think there's one misconception. So I've gotten really mostly 99.9% positive, loving things from all over the world. And the misconception is that they say, thank you for standing up for Gaza. I have my own complicated sets of views about the conflict, and I think that what is happening is horrific, the conflict. At the same time, I was here standing up for students and their freedom of expression, and I wanted an opportunity for peaceful expression of their views and peaceful dissent. And that was my concern. So I'm happy to be able to raise awareness that universities across the country, this is not an issue of Israel or Gaza. This is an issue of higher education administrators clamping down on free expression and delegitimizing any kind of dissent. And the one way of delegitimizing it happened last year when they said, oh, they're a bunch of anti-Semites, which was false. Another way to delegitimize it is to say, oh, they were outside agitators, and that's false. There were perhaps some students here from other universities, but the students that I've spoken with who are organizing it are Emory students that I've known for years.
Now, of course, there's always going to be, the infiltrators. There's always going to be those who want to, spark the violence. But on the whole, these protesters know exactly what they're doing, and they're peaceful on the whole. But I'll leave you with this. This is Lawrence Wilkerson. And again, I'm not about the personality. I am about the truth. I am about principle. And here we go.
Prestige, what Dean Acheson called the shadow of power. Prestige. A lot of things wrapped up in that word with Joe Biden and Ukraine, too. Don't want to be proved so blatantly wrong. That's where we are in Ukraine. Gaza, another matter altogether. We are paying for our fidelity to a people. 85% of the Israeli people who are Jewish are for this war. They don't necessarily like Netanyahu, but they are for what he's doing. We are lashed up to them in a way that is so debilitating, so against our national security interests, so against our humanitarian and reputational interests, that it makes your heart hurt to be in Washington and see it happening every day. And when Schumer gets up and makes a political statement, and that's what it was, pure politics, he sees all those people going away from the ballot box, and so he's got to make some overture in order to try and get them back. Does he really mean what he's saying? No, he's probably just like Mitch McConnell if you scratched him hard. It's unconscionable what I'm seeing happening in Washington. And every time somebody excoriates me or comes after me in some way for my appearances on television or whatever, I get a even more visceral view of these poisonous people who think, first, too many of them think Israel's doing the right thing. One said to me, a patent neoconservative, if they weren't killing them, we'd have to be there killing them. And I asked him, explain yourself. What the hell do you mean? They're all terrorists. Those women and children at the foot of that hospital, that 2,000-pound bomb dropped on that you made and sent to them, they're terrorists? Well, they're supporting terrorists. They'll grow up and be terrorists. It reminded me of what one person told me, a Serb who was a sniper in Sarajevo, and he just shot a 13-year-old boy on the street. And he was asked by a UN peacekeeping force officer why he did that. And he said, because he'll grow up to be a terrorist. Well, that's what these people think. That's what these people think, and that's what Netanyahu thinks. And let me tell you another thing about Netanyahu and what he's been doing since he was finance minister. Netanyahu, first of all, running for office, created the turmoil and the anger that got Yitzhak Rabin assassinated. And then the settler who assassinated him, he resurrected him and made him a hero. This is Bibi Netanyahu. This isn't something new, what he's doing. He's been doing this for over 15 years, personally orchestrating it. Now, he's in and out of the political realm in different niches because he has to keep getting elected, otherwise he'd go to jail. But he's been doing this, what has now come to fruition in Gaza, for longer than 15 years. Slowly but surely, he's been exterminating the Palestinians in the West Bank. If you've been there, you know that it now has roads running through it. Some of them look like Autobahns, and they're all to connect Israeli settlements and to screen out Palestinians. Ben-Gvir has brought a new vengeance to this. Ben-Gvir, his director of security, is handing out weapons now, AR-15 type weapons now for the settlers. Because what is their intent now that they've almost finished the West Bank and they've started on and will finish East Jerusalem fairly swiftly? Their intent is to go into Gaza and to do it in Gaza. You may have seen the protests that occurred around the food, I wouldn't call them protests, the turmoil that occurred around the food trucks not too long ago, about a week ago or so, and they killed a couple of hundred people. Well, part of that was because they got the settlers in there too. The settlers are getting ready to do the things they did in the West Bank and in East Jerusalem, but now in Gaza. Rafah, and what he's going to do there is probably the final act in terms of extermination, just outright extermination, and evacuation. He's going to have some left. So my query the other day of one of the guys who's been talking about this with me is, he's on the ground in Gaza, what do you think is going to happen to the ones that are left alive? Well, they're going to go somewhere, and it isn't going to be staying in Gaza. Well, Egypt has said they won't take them. Jordan has said they won't take them. You can't push anymore into other places. You can't push them into the Sinai. What is going to happen? Well, he'll cross that bridge when he comes to it. I said, man, I've heard that before. Where'd you hear that before? When Will Taft, Powell's lawyer, asked Rumsfeld, Will said essentially, you got a 13-year-old down there in Guantanamo. A 13-year-old. Let's say he lives to be 80. Are you prepared to see him stay there for almost another 70 years? And Rumsfeld looked at him and said, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. All right. The link is in the chat if you want to listen to the remainder of his talk. I don't focus on, all of the crisis actors. I don't focus on the infiltrators. I don't focus on the lying frauds. I don't focus on religion. I don't, Jewish supremacy. There's Christian supremacy and the evangelical Christian supremacy. And then you have the Islamic supremacy, and everybody believes, that they're the ones with the right religion or the right God. And that causes an awful lot of division. And so we have a situation where children are being murdered every day. Innocent people are being murdered every day. We know damn well that there is a genocide going on. All of these protests that are breaking out, and historically, you have protests, university students. That's what we were seeing during the Vietnam War. Okay, so that's not very different. But I think that the majority of the protesters know exactly what they are doing. And to denigrate them in such a way is really, I for the life of me, I do not understand it. To claim that most, have no clue what they're doing there is such a presumption that is, you got to take a look at that. Most are government sponsored, whatever that means. Got to take a look at that. That would mean that you're going around to all of these protests and you're talking to most of those students knowing exactly what they're doing there and knowing that they don't know what they're doing there, and that they're government sponsored. And yeah, we need to work on how we think. That's very, very important. And if you worship a God that supports killing children, yeah, you really do need to, as T. Lamb says, check yourself. Anyway, guys, I really hope that you all stay safe, that you're living honestly and speaking honestly and helping those in need in your community. And speaking words that you live by. Your word is who you are. Will you honor your word? Or will you just speak words and betray them, and that's who you are? So, I will probably see you tomorrow night, and if I don't, that means I decided to leave. Sunday, though, I don't want to get there early in Texas, so yeah. Probably see you tomorrow night. Thank you for showing up tonight, and hope to see you tomorrow night if I'm here. What a life I've got, huh? All right. Be safe. Good night and good luck. Thank you. And thank you, and thank you. And I really mean it. Be safe. Ciao, guys.